الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
السلام عليكم.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وسبحان الله سبحان الله العلي العظيم، والحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على الحبيب المصطفى النبي الأمين محمد القاسم، وعلى النبي الأمين محمد القاسم المرسل رحمة للعالمين، وعلى آله الأطهار الميامين، وعلى صحبه المختارين، وعلى من اتبعوا بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستنصره فإنه حق من هدى الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له. اللهم تقبل منا يا رب العالمين. First, I truly, may Allah bless the man with the golden voice, Shayan Barsai, who does the adhan for the Jum'ah. There is an adhan that moves and reminds and awakens for those who understand. You know, with the immense obscenity that we are witnessing in our lifetime, with the immense obscenity of the entire world watching the systematic, deliberate, unrelenting slaughter of a civilian population under the guise and the obscene excuse of fighting Hamas. We are no longer talking about collateral damage. It's a concept that doesn't even apply. We are no longer talking about even something remotely related to the concept of proportionality. No longer applies. We are no longer talking about anything coming close. You want to call it just war theory in Christian theology? You want to call it humanitarian law doctrines of jus in bello and just conduct of war? Because war, according to Christian theology and according to international law doctrine and according to modern international law, has to satisfy two prongs. Jus in bellum means it has to be for a just cause. And jus in bello, it has to be conducted justly. Two prongs. Even if you have a just cause, but you pursue this cause through unjust means, you are committing a crime against humanity. You are in violation, not just of the inept doctrines of international law. But more importantly, you're in violations of all doctrines of morality and ethics. So we are far beyond jus in bello. No longer anyone that talks about proportionality or self-restraint or military necessity is absolutely a liar. There's no two ways about it. It's a liar. Because as the recent report released by Amnesty International, and as repeatedly stated and documented by the High Commissioner for Human Rights, and as noted in the polite and bashful and highly political language of the Secretary General of the UN, and as the files submitted to the International Criminal Court, and the embarrassing and unbearable silence of the International Criminal Court attest to what is being witnessed in Gaza is far beyond what the world has seen in Syria, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Fallujah, in Vietnam, in any military conflict. Why? Because Gaza is a big concentration camp. And the people in Gaza are denied water and food, and as usual, incoherently and incomprehensibly, as we are accustomed to by criminals throughout history. The Germans blamed the Jews for their own slaughter. The Germans insisted that what they did in the countries they occupied wasn't their fault. It was always the fault of the occupied. The rhetoric of the Germans is indistinguishable from the rhetoric that Israel uses about Palestinians and from the rhetoric that the United States uses about Palestinians, and indeed the rhetoric that so much of Europe uses about Palestinians. If Muslims were an educated people, if Muslims invested money in educational institutions instead of building mosques and in pietistic affectations and playing games of hijabs and beards and assalamu alaikum brother and assalamu alaikum sister, if Muslims were like that, they would have been able to clearly show the rhetoric used by Germans in so many of their military campaigns in World War II, and literally line it side by side to the rhetoric used by Israelis and Americans in referring to Palestinians. Because according to Israel, it is not the blockade, it is not the fact that Israel cut off electricity and water and announced to the world that Palestinians are subhuman and animals, and that in fact it's not that Israel's already making plans to build settlements in Gaza and build resorts. It is not that Israel openly and publicly said, let them go to Egypt, let them leave. We are displacing them. We are ethnically clear publicly. It's not all of that. No. You see, aid is not reaching the dead and wounded in Gaza because of Hamas. It is Hamas that is obstructing the aid. It is Hamas that doesn't want the aid to reach its own people. If Muslims were an educated people, and I'm so fed up with they could have easily shown how the rhetoric used by Germany lines up identically with the claims and excuses used by Israel and the United States in referring to Palestinians. The entire world sees the brutality of Israelis when their own hostages escape and raise white flags and are gunned down, although speaking Hebrew. Can you imagine what they do to those who are speaking Arabic as they're raising white flags? But the world is silent. The world is not offended. The world doesn't talk about the implications and nuances. The entire world witnesses and knows that Israelis executed Palestinians in front of their families, then had the women and children go to a particular building on a particular floor and then bombed that building, killing the women and children. And the the United States that lied about beheaded babies, and the same United States that lied about raped women is silent. The world is not offended. It's not devastated. They see pictures of Palestinians being marched blindfolded and stripped down to their undies. And then those same people dead, executed. And the world is still polite, not offended, not devastated like they were about the lie of beheaded babies and the lie of raped women. If Muslims were an educated people, they could shame the world. If they didn't waste their money in zaytunas and in I don't know what, in little game institutions or make-believe institutions that cannot compete intellectually, that cannot compete discursively, that is not populated by the most intelligent and accomplished people, but is populated by the intellectually lazy and intellectually dull. Their major qualifications is their beards and is their salamu alaikum brother and salamu alaikum sister. Their pietistic affectations. If rich people were not so impressed by the pietistic affectations and didn't support the losers of the Muslim world, but put their money where the winners are, we could shame the world, we could demonstrate the world, we could show how the rhetoric of the Nazis was identical, inseparable, indistinguishable from the rhetoric used by the Israelis and the Americans referring to Palestinians. We could. Wallahi al-Azim, we could. Allah is my witness, we could. Allah is my witness that when you have on live cameras an old woman sitting in her apartment building blown and torn apart, pointing to bodies in her living room and in her bedrooms, and says, "Here lies my grandson under a sheet. Here lies my granddaughter under a sheet. Here lies my son. Here lies his wife." And the bodies are rotting, where this old 85-year-old woman is sitting, but no one can remove the bodies because Israel targets ambulances, kills medical workers, and everyone knows it. And here's the doozy, and please listen carefully. There is nearly or more than 1.5 billion Muslims in the world. Listen carefully, because this could not happen if Egypt, ostensibly Muslim country, under the brilliant guidance of a murderer and a butcher and a killer, and as Trump called him, an effing killer, and his favorite dictator, if that person didn't blockade Gaza for the Israelis, the great Egyptian army that puts on military parades showing off their hardware doesn't dare to raise a finger to Israel. If Saudi Arabia, sitting on its piles of wealth, if Saudi Arabia was as offended as when the US threatened to punish Saudi Arabia about the murder of Khashoggi, Saudi Arabia sent an unequivocal message to the world. If you are serious about punishing us for killing Khashoggi, We will flatten the world economy. No similar, not even close response. If Saudi Arabia didn't use your Muslim Hajj and Umrah money to build the city of the future, Saudi Arabia 2030, the murdering of the Yemenis, the obscene corruption of Saudi money, and only if you knew what Saudi money is in Europe and in LA and in New York. If the Emirat, and what do I say about the Emirat? If Muslim countries simply did what Malaysia did, refused to allow ships carrying merchandise to Israel to land on any of their ports, everything would change immediately. But you know all of this, so why am I saying it? Because you see, we couldn't be in this situation if Muslims were not about Assalamu alaikum brother, Assalamu alaikum sister, and about the hijabs, and about the pietistic affectations, and about the make-believe and the little games, and the, oh, mashallah, brother, but this person is good for Islam. Look, he guides people. La ilaha, Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah. This is so amazing, brother. If Muslims spoke and acted and thought like normal human beings that you encounter at Yale, human beings that you encounter at Harvard, human beings that you encounter at Princeton, human beings that you encounter at UCLA, human beings that you encounter at every proper academic, intellectual forum. If Muslims put aside the issue of pietistic affectations, because whether you observe the law or not is between you and God. What I care about is your intellect. Can I use your intellect? Can your intellect compete with the best intellects in the world? Not can it compete with this Islamic conference or this little Islamic symposia or this little Islamic pretend institutions. If Muslims, the world would respect us. The world would fear us. The world would count us as human beings. But you see, the problem is, we have Muslims who might be willing, and now I even doubt that, by the way, to put their life on the line if the Prophet is insulted. And again, I doubt that, by the way. But they truly think that Allah is accepting their Hajj, and Allah is accepting their Umrah, and Allah is accepting their prayer, and Allah is accepting their fasting, and Allah is accepting their zakah, as they allow rulers the like of MBS and MBC and CC to rule over them. Let's not forget that yours truly, this miserable, worthless, humble, valueless man was banned by the Islamic Center of Southern California, an institution in which I grew. I was raised by Maher Hathout, and in an instant, they banned me when I wanted to criticize the dictator, the effing killer of Trump, his favorite dictator. Gaza is happening. Get it through your brain. Gaza is happening not because the Israelis are immoral. They are. Not because the Israelis are criminal. They are. Not because the United States has no morals and has no ethics. They do not have any morals or ethics. But Gaza, this slaughter, this obscenity, the begs and cries of children that haunt my dreams and my nightmares is happening because we Muslims are equivocal about immoral, disgusting, unethical, criminal rulers and leaders like Sisi and NBS and NBZ. Because when yours truly was banned from the Islamic Center of Southern California, all the Egyptians, oh, there are 2 points of view. You know, mashallah, brother. Alhamdulillah. Look, we educate our children. Mashallah, brother. Alhamdulillah. Subhanallah. Allahu Akbar. Gaza is happening because people like Khaled had funding for his Islamophobia withdrawn by cowardly Muslim money. People like Khaled Abou Fadl had cowardly rich people withdraw support because, oh, he might be a Mu'tazili. He might be a secret Shi'i. Oh, he's too liberal. Oh, we don't know. Oh, there is this rumor. Oh, there is that. Pietistic affectations, pietistic affectations, pietistic affectations. And Gaza is happening because of that. And we are cursed as a people because of our immorality and lack of ethics. May Allah have mercy on us. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. والله يستجب لكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والحمد لله رب العالمين وسبحان الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على حبيب قلوبنا النبي الأمين المرسل رحمة للعالمين محمد القاسم النبي الطاهر النبي الجميل النبي المحسن. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه. This is the Ummah of Muhammad, the beautiful man, the gorgeous man, the majestic man. We've allowed Muhammad to be maligned in an unrelenting Islamophobic industry for a decade. Before Gaza, before the slaughter happened, You don't see, you don't remember the guy who used to work in the State Department under the Obama administration when he tells the Muslim street vendor, do you rape your daughter like Muhammad did? Islamophobia and the slaw. And then he tells the same man, oh, we've killed 4,000 children in Gaza. That's not enough. It's not enough. And then I get the Muslims, the Assalamu alaikum brother, Assalamu alaikum sister Muslims. Say, what is the effect between Islamophobia and this? Oh my God. Oh my God, the toils of ignorance. How do you speak to an illiterate people? How do you speak to people who do not think, who do not read? How? You want to understand? Allah exposed it to you. The State Department, ex-official under the Obama, not Trump, not Bush, not Reagan. Obama administration says, oh, you rape your daughter like Muhammad did. We will tell the mukhabarat and they'll take your father and pull out his fingers. 4,000 children in Gaza not enough. Allah is telling you. It is the allowing of the maligning of Muhammad for a decade in an unrelenting Islamophobia industry. And you beg Muslims, like I begged Muslims, please, please fund me, help me, hire and give fellowships and jobs to the most gifted Muslim students who've written doctorates on Islamophobia so we can fight back. And the arrogance. And because you didn't kiss up to them enough, because you didn't praise their wisdom enough, because you didn't tell them how Islam is blessed, like all the popular speakers, the speakers that get on podiums and have hundreds of thousands of views from you. These speakers kiss up to you, praise you to make you feel good. And because I didn't do that, I didn't get funding until I gave up. But no one else did. No one of substance, like Khaled, for instance. And so we are dehumanized. We are considered like animals, exactly like the Nazis looked at Jews. Something subhuman, something less than human. Exactly like the narrative and the language of the Nazis, only if Muslims were an educated people. You know, the Prophet Hud, Alfu Salah wa Taslim alayh, told his people, Inni nasahtu lakum. I've given you advice. I've told you. لا تبخسوا الناس أشياءهم. Stop cheating people. Stop mistreating people. Stop being fakes. Stop being liars. Stop being pretenders. Stop being false. ولكنكم لا تحبوا الناصحين. But you don't like those who speak the truth. You don't want to hear those who speak the truth. You want those who speak the truth to shut up. Oh, they must be liberal. They must be Shia. They must be Mu'tazila. They must be this. They must be that. Okay, fine. 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 All of that. فوضت أمري لله. احتسبت أمري عند الله. Because Allah knows what the truth is. And I don't care. And it doesn't keep me at night. What does keep me awake are all the children and the tears and the women and the unbelievable suffering and the hypocrisy of the international community that would not be possible without the hypocrisy of Muslims everywhere, and the fakeness of the international community that is anchored and built on the fakeness of Muslims everywhere. It is time to re-examine everything. It is time to rebuild everything. You want, listen to the tafsir I gave to the Quran. If you want, it's there. It can teach you everything you need to know. But if we do not rebuild everything, if we do not rethink everything, as Allah told us in the same surah, after warning us, وَلَا تَرْكَنُوا لِلَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا, don't allow yourselves to be thoroughly unjust, led by unjust people, inspired by unjust people, represented by unjust people, and fake people too. Otherwise, as Allah warned us in Surah Hud, you will be replaced. You will be replaced. Allah will bring another, a nation worthy of God. Your fakeness doesn't play with Allah. Your fakeness doesn't help the people in Gaza. My own fakeness as well, because I do not accept myself. Under these circumstances, it is time for each of us to look in the mirror and look deep and hard. You know, Muslims love to say, oh, look, this has proved human rights is fake. Human rights is nonsense. How silly we are. How deluded we are. How ignorant and fake we are. Because the whole reason that this is happening is that Muslims do not believe in and do not apply human rights values to each other, to one another. This would not be possible if there wasn't a Sisi who treats 100 million Egyptians as if they're brainless. If there wasn't a Saudi Arabia that consistently and persistently has no regard for human rights, if there wasn't an Emirat, if there wasn't an Iran, if there wasn't a Pakistan, if there wasn't every Muslim country without regards to human rights towards their own people, they will respect human rights as to the white man. If they have white tourists, oh mashallah, they have their full human rights. But fellow Muslims, the reason Gaza is happening, is because the Muslim world is full of Muslims who do not believe in human rights for fellow Muslims. If there wasn't a Palestinian Authority that arrests Palestinians and tortures Palestinians and does Israel's dirty deeds, if there wasn't an Egyptian Authority literally living like the faithful servant at the feet of Israel, at the expense of, Nixon said in his book, you don't read, you don't think. Nixon said years ago in his book, Victory Without War, when it comes to Muslims, read the book. If you don't believe me, read. When it comes to Muslims, we don't believe in human rights because they don't believe in human rights. The important thing, let Muslims hate on the US publicly, as long as privately the rulers do our bidding and suppress and silence their own people. He wrote this years ago, and Nixon is the teacher of most of the accomplished diplomats in the State Department. But there are plenty of Muslims. No, brother. Take care of yourself and your family. As long as salah, mashallah, don't look at the woman. Separate women. Oh, alhamdulillah, men and women are separate. Oh, women cannot be heard. Women cannot do adhan. Women cannot give khutbahs. Women cannot this. Oh, mashallah. As long as that, brother. Who cares what Nixon said? As long as that, brother, mashallah, there is no... Why criticize the rulers of the Emirat? Why criticize the rulers of Saudi? Why criticize the rulers of Egypt? Why? We are not in their position. We don't know what they know. Didn't Allah say, obey the rulers? This is why Gaza is happening. Khalas. May Allah take me. May Allah take my soul after this. No more time, no more space for lies and pretense. No more. I'm tired. I need to speak the truth. I need to say it, even if no one hears it, even if no one cares, even if all people, oh, it's so extreme. Oh, why, what is this? Oh, why, it's too much. Oh, relax, brother, take a chill pill. Oh, go play some video games. Why don't you go take a nap? Oh, you know, we're done. We're done. I'll see you on the final day before a God who's all just and all knowing. May Allah forgive you and forgive me. May Allah guide you and guide me. May Allah inspire you and inspire me. May Allah educate you and educate me. May Allah have mercy upon you and have mercy upon me. May Allah forgive you. May Allah forgive me. For Allah knows I need forgiveness. I need forgiveness. I need Allah's forgiveness. I need Allah's mercy and compassion. I need Allah's love as I need air and food. I need Allah. I need God. May you need God too. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم استجب الله لكم وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين ذلك من أنباء القرى نقصه عليك منها قائم وحصيد وما ظلمناهم ولكن ظلموا أنفسهم وما أغنت عنهم آلهتهم التي يدعون من دون الله من شيء لما جاء ربك وما زادوهم غير تتبيب وكذلك أخذ ربك إذا أخذ القرى وهي ظالمة إن أخذه أليم شديد إن في ذلك لآية لمن خاف عذاب الآخرة ذلك يوم مجموع له الناس وذلك يوم مشهور الله أكبر الله حميدا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين فاستقم كما أمرت ومن تاب معك ولا تطغوا إنه بما تعملون بصير وأقم الصلاة طرفي النهار وزلفا من الليل إن الحسنات يذهبن السيئات ذلك ذكرى للذاكرين واصبر فإن الله لا يضيع أجر المحسنين فلولا كان من القرون من قبلكم أولو بقية ينهون عن الفساد في الأرض إلا قليلا ممن أنجينا منهم واتبع الذين ظلموا ما أترفوا فيه وكانوا مجرمين الله أكبر الله حمده السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله